It didn't work out so well. I had a real estate agent, take me to the cleaners, and ended up losing a six-figure business and a $500,000 worth of real estate when I was 27. So that was tough, but that's what forges us forward. And
We started a software company. We had no idea what the hell we were doing. Man, we had no idea how to do any of that shit. Like, I had no idea how to grow. We had like 60 customers. We lost like half of them. We were plateaued for 2 years, couldn't make money. And that was my first introduction to SaaS Academy.
that's
I
what I
was
talk about in that book is, the wins are awesome, but the losses are really what build the entrepreneur. And
Or
so
if you're running a business, you can probably sit down and come up with 25 unanswered questions about your own business that if you had the answers, you could make smarter decisions. We just need to like make the time to go get the answers, which is hard to do when you're like trying to keep the lights on.
nobody does paper invoices anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have paperwork orders. So yes, you're using technology in your business. This is just another iteration of that, right? Hey guys, what's up? It's Coach Carroll. Welcome to another episode of the Sales Factory. I'm excited today. I got my man Matt Verlaque in the building. I hope I pronounced that right, Matt.
Nailed it, man. You got it.
I'm super excited, guys. This is an episode that will not be only informational, but hopefully transformational. I've known Matt through SaaS Academy. You guys have heard me talk about that program, and I've learned so much, and it's helped our business a ton. And I'll actually be having Johnny Page come on here soon, and I'll be on their podcast as well. So be sure to check all those episodes out in the future. But I asked Matt to come on because recently at SaaS Academy, he was talking about segments, and this is like a Twilio product. And I did a demo with them about 2 years ago, and I left the call going, what the fuck did I just hear? Like I was so confused. I was more confused than I had clarity on. And so Matt was like preaching from the stage, like, oh, this thing, you got to be using this thing. It's so powerful. And so this is going to be like a super deep dive. So I'm sorry, like if you're like, an insurance agent or maybe like a lawn care guy, you might be like, all right, skipping this episode. I'm not interested. Or maybe you hang around because Matt could convince you on why you need to use some tech stuff in your non-tech business.
Mm.
Before we get started, I'll let Matt introduce himself. He's got a very rich history of where he's came from. I learned so much out in San Diego a couple months ago at SaaS Academy. So, Matt, welcome to the Sales Factory, my man.
Thanks, DJ. I appreciate you, man. Yeah, dude, it's been a wild journey. So, long story short, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was a fireman. I loved being a fireman. I loved everything about it. It was the first thing in my life I was ever good at. And man, a guy in my firehouse started a CrossFit gym. He knew I was a little nerdy, asked me for some help on the website and the marketing and this and that. And dude, one thing led to another. We started a software company. We had no idea what the hell we were doing. And we realized real quick that, and I love that the podcast is the Sales Factory, talking about sales and, driving revenue and doing all that, man. We had no idea how to do any of that shit. Like I had no idea how to grow. We had like 60 customers. We lost like half of them. We were plateaued for 2 years, couldn't make money. And that was my first introduction to SaaS Academy. I was literally in the seat you were sitting in San Diego back in 2018. The room wasn't as cool, but it was dude, it was wild. And it's like, I just had to reach out and get some help, get some coaching, pay for some answers. Dan Martell and Marcel and the rest of the team that were there at the time really taught my co-founder Jake and I how the hell to run a software business. And it's funny because we say software business, but I heard you mention insurance, lawn care, whatever. Like 90% of the lessons that we learned in SaaS Academy, you could rip software in any type of business, especially recurring revenue business. It's just good business. So long story short, we grew that business. We sold it successfully, like right before COVID, which is cool. We served gyms, so that was lucky.
Oh,
Yeah, January 20th, 2020 was when we sold. Like
woo.
right under the wire, man. It's crazy. So yeah, I did that, worked for them for about a year, partnered up with Dan Martell. I ran a venture fund for a little while and then joined up with him as a partner in SaaS Academy. I was a COO there for 3 years, which was fun. Let me, sharpen the axe on finance and data and numbers. And that kind of led to what I'm doing now. Left SaaS Academy in December, started a new company called Precision, where I help entrepreneurs un-F their data so they can make more money. And that's it. I'm putting my nerd skills to good use. That's me in a nutshell, brother.
I love it, man. I love it. Very succinct. I'm excited to have you here. And, it was funny because my journey into tech started when I bought a fitness center.
Oh, cool.
And I've told this story to my listeners a million times, but I grew it from 100 members to 300 members by running Facebook ads, systematically transitioning to a $1 trial for your first 30 days that auto
Yeah.
renewed into a subscription to create
Yeah.
recurring revenue. And so there was a lot of software wrapped around the gym business. It didn't work out so well. I had a real estate agent, take me to the cleaners, and I ended up losing a six-figure business and a $500,000 worth of real estate when I was 27. So that was tough, but as all good entrepreneurs, we got to go through some flames and some fires. No pun
Yeah,
intended,
dude.
as a firefighter, but I think that's what forges us forward. And I actually just wrapped up the editing of my new book that's coming out in June, The Hunter Head Game, and that's what I talk about in that book. Is the wins are awesome, but the losses are really what build the entrepreneur. And
For
so
sure.
I'm excited, man. You got a hat on for those of you that are listening on the audio only version. It says "I love data," so that's pretty cool. I'm digging that. Tell us the story behind that hat, man.
Man, it's funny. The e-com story is I got served an Instagram ad and I was like, I need that. But it's funny. I'm really it's funny. Martel saw me wear this and he's like, bro, you got to own that phrase. Like that's you in a nutshell. And there is some thought behind it, DJ, because people who don't know me well or who haven't worked with me personally, they think when they hear what I do with precision that I'm like all about the data. They say things like, oh, you think maybe my business is nothing but a spreadsheet or everything can be solved in numbers, but that's not true because my thing is special. Like the reason that I fight so hard for people to pay attention to data is not because it solves every problem. Like the real way to run a business is not data driven. I call it being data informed. I didn't come up with it, but I think it's the right way to do it because you've got your numbers, right? The data, and you've got your anecdotes, your gut feelings, your intuition, that entrepreneurial edge, right? That you can't teach. And the thing is like nobody is short on anecdotes. Everybody has their gut feeling. We're full of opinions. We're full of like, oh, I just knew that would work. I didn't think that would work. I know my customer. Like we're all full of that stuff, and it's not bad. But when you lay the data on top of it and you can actually get into the quantitative and not just the qualitative, man, you put those two things together, you're freaking unstoppable. And so that's why I push on the data is because that's a side that's easy to ignore. No entrepreneur in the history of business ever on earth has been short on opinions. We're all a bunch of opinionated freaking type A guys, you know what I mean, and gals. So it's just like you layer the data on top of it, it makes you a weapon.
Yeah, and I often say that, and I tell my team this all the time. It's like, hey, listen, I'm great at convincing myself that I have the best idea in the room, right? And so, like,
For sure.
I think data can kind of deflate that sometimes and bring you back to earth. I also remember, like, early on in business, I had a mentor when I started my first business, lawn care business. He taught me like you've got to know your P&L, you've got to know your balance sheet, you got to know your
Yeah.
statement of cash flow. Those are like he called them offense, defense, and special teams.
I
Because
love that.
I played football, so it was like you've got to know those playbooks. But I think it's very cool that with data, there's so much more. And I mean, just here recently, within the last couple of years, understanding like how to track churn properly, right?
Yeah.
And understanding that, we were just coming off the rails selling like hotcakes, but then our churn was the problem, right? And so like we were just, continually trying to bucket water out of a boat that had a bunch of
Yeah.
holes in the bottom of it. You got to
Yep.
fix that. Understanding your customer acquisition cost and the LTV and how that plays into your marketing, what you can spend to acquire a customer. There's so much more than just, how much money did we make, how much money did we keep. There's levels to this game, right? And so
Yeah.
I want to transition. How does maybe give a? I don't want this to be a. I don't know. Maybe we'll go get some sponsorship dollars from Twilio after this is all said and done on this episode, Matt. I don't necessarily want this to be like an infomercial for segments, but in a nutshell, I'll give my outside perspective. It basically allows you to connect a bunch of your different softwares and data factories, if you will, and bring them into one place so they can kind of communicate together. That and tell me if I'm not on pace there, or if I am on pace, and I'll let you kind of give us the more nerded up version a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to start with why, right? So let's
Okay,
just maybe
good.
we'll back up for a sec so everyone who's listening has the context, right? So what we're trying to do, like DJ, we had this conversation, it was in the context of we want to track events inside of our software, inside of the tool that we've built to figure out how the hell people are using it. So like right there, principle number one, if you don't run a software company, that's cool, keep listening. Principle number one is you got to know how people are using the thing that you've built, right? So I don't care if you sell shampoo, you got to know if people are washing their hair. I don't care if you sell cars, you got to know how people are driving them, or they like driving them, or they pissed off because they don't have ashtrays anymore, whatever. Like there's so many things, right? That like we make the sale and we think that we hit the finish line. The sale is the starting line. That is when the race begins of actually delivering on the promise that you made in the sales process. This is true for selling anything, anywhere on earth, period, full stop. It has nothing to do with technology. And so,
Love it.
like, that's a hill that I'll die on is like, once you bring somebody into your business, you've got to be just as driven to understand how they're using it. Are they getting value from it? Are they happy? Are they likely to stick around? Are they likely to refer their friends? All five of those
Mhm.
questions are more important than like, oh, how can I go sell another person myself?
Can you say
Right.
those again, Matt? Because I think that a knowledge bomb. Maybe
I'm
you
not
just
sure if I
take
can
that one
rattle
to
them
the
off in the
take that
same
one to the
order. Let me
bank.
see. Like, are they using it? Are they happy? Are they likely to stick around? Are they getting the value you promised them? Are they likely to refer their friends?
Like it.
Yeah, those are
Y'all
the
write
things I
that one
think
down
about.
if you didn't.
Yeah. And so like so if we zoom in then in the context of software, right? And this is where we might get a little nerdy, but and it's funny because this might be like a mind melter for people who don't run software companies. Like people who do this well, they will be able to watch videos of you using the software. And like some of that technology, like it obfuscates the sensitive data. They're not like looking at your passwords and stuff, but they'll be able to see like DJ logged in 17 times last month. And the last time he logged in, he went from this page to that page to that page to that page. And then he clicked this button 46 times and it didn't work and it threw this error and then he bounced. Like really good software teams have that data behind the scenes and they can use it. Right. And that's like one
Mm.
example. And so the trouble is, and the reason like that I like a tool like a segment, I'll explain what it does in a minute, is that it can be a big process to like instrument your software, right? Because like it's the wrong decision to build that type of granularity early. You don't even know if you're building software that anybody wants to buy yet. Like it's literally like it's important at the right time, but if you are writing shit down, like sequencing equals success. You can do the right thing at the
Mm.
wrong time and still lose. And so, yeah, like so you don't want to like build this thing and you don't even know if it's going to be a business and then you're like, I got to instrument all my button clicks, like you're just wasting freaking time. But when you have
Split test
clients,
the color of the button, Matt.
so you got like six people and four of them clicked one. It teaches you jack. But in your situation that you mentioned a minute ago, right, where you were selling like hotcakes, but you had a churn problem, this is where that stuff really matters. We're like, okay,
Yeah.
the value proposition I'm putting out on my sales calls or my demos, my marketing, whatever, like it's hitting. People want it. They want to pay the amount of money I'm asking to solve the problem the way I said that I'd solve it. But then they're using the thing and I can't see anything. They cross the line, they're my customer, and all of a sudden I don't know shit. Like that's the problem we've got to solve. And so it can be a process. You got to go in and like instrument all the different events and the button clicks. And sometimes you got to send data from your database to somewhere else to like figure out, if you're a lead gen platform, which accounts are getting leads, which ones aren't, how fast are they getting them, how long was it since they got their last one, like a million questions you want to be able to answer. And so, like, call it what it is, it's a pain in the ass to instrument this stuff. And so, why tools like Segment exist, and look, they do a lot of stuff that I don't even know about, right? But like, the reason that I use them is I look at them almost like a router, right? Where you can
Okay.
plug Segment into the code. It's still a pain in the ass, but you can do that work one time. And then what you can do is on the backside of Segment, you can connect all these different, they call them destinations, right? So like, let's say I want to use vendor A for my product analytics. I can just plug it in a segment. And then if I decide that's not working or like I made some more money, I want to upgrade to a better solution later, you can just connect that shit to segment and it'll just generally work. And you don't have to bother your engineers. Cause like the way that I look at this and guys, like honestly, people who run manufacturing businesses or like e-commerce, you guys will get this, right? Because like engineering time, it's like inventory, right? And so anytime when I'm trying to run an efficient business, I want to make sure that my software engineers only have to ship something once and that I can do what I got to do after they do their work without me having to bug them again, right? Like time is money.
Mm.
All those cats cost a lot of money, well earned,
Yes.
well deserved. Um, right. But like, I don't want them doing stuff that we should have built so Matt and DJ can do it, right? And so like that's why something like a segment, like I can literally go in and switch out all my analytics software, the whole nine yards, and I don't have to bug my dev team at all to move anything around. So like that's the biggest benefit for me. And you can plug different sources in, so like different inputs, right? And then like decide where they go. It just like routes everything around and minimizes the amount of rework that you have to do later. So
Yeah,
that's why
man.
I like it. I mean, I think it's probably worth talking about like how we use that data on the other end. But like as far as the explainer you were thinking about segment, do you think that is clear for people? Anything you want me to double click on?
Yeah, no, I think that's clear. And listen, if guys, if you're not in a tech business right now, I would argue in this, this is why I wrote the 100 head game, is like we're in a new world now. Like
Yeah.
there have been, I fundamentally think there have been three waves. There was the access wave, which was the internet. There was the attention wave, which was social media,
Mm,
and now we have the AI wave, which is completely game changing everything.
yeah.
You can't put your head in the sand and be like, I'm not a tech company. Every company in the future will be a
You
tech
can,
company,
but you'll
right?
lose. I
I mean,
promise.
yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, yeah. The Grim Reaper is knocking on the door.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I love making this example, Matt, because coming from my family was blue collar, my first business, and I still own my power washing and window cleaning business. Like nobody does paper invoices anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have paperwork orders. So yes, you're using technology in your business. This is just another iteration of that, right? And so like maybe if you're using what Matt's explaining here is like if you've got multiple places you go log in on the internet to run your business, Segment is a way to kind of pull some of that stuff together. And especially if you have your own app, right? This
Yeah.
is why we built Alley, which is our app, was because we were just kind of doing marketing services. And I'm like, listen, if we can get our customers on an app, we're going to have so many more signals of, hey, when's the last time they engaged? When's the last time they logged in to look at their dashboard? Like, there was a lot of signals that I needed from my customers, both leading and lagging, to say, is this customer going to churn? Are they engaged? Do they love us? Are they implementing what we teach them? And so I think segments is a way to where, like, for our business, I'll give you guys a real world example. And Matt, I'd love your input on this. Is like, we use Stripe for our credit card processing. Right. And so like being able to see, hey, how does Stripe come in and, look at the billing? And then also maybe like our email marketing that we send out, right? You can paint a better picture is what I'm kind of understanding from the data that you can collect, right? Because you're connecting a lot of these ecosystems, if you will, to get a more holistic view. Am I tracking there?
You are. That's like, I would say level two of using Segment, right? Which is like, it gets into like data warehousing and stuff like that, where
Yeah.
you've got data coming from outside your software, other sources like Stripe and marketing and stuff like that, where you have to like figure out how to build like a 360 customer profile encompassing all of that data. So that's what I would consider the varsity team, to use your sports analogies,
All
right?
right.
But the way I look at it, like to me, that's the entry point, right? And I use it for a very specific application, which is I'm running a software company. I need to instrument my events somehow. I might as well use something that will let me switch the other endpoints out later without having to cost me a whole bunch of money.
I love it.
So that's generally how I look at it.
I love it. I love it. So then, when you guys have this data, Matt, like, what do you, I always say data without action is irrelevant. So, like,
Yeah,
what are you
amen.
guys using this data for, and how does that make changes in your business?
Yeah, I'll give you the most poignant example. And honestly, like doing this probably saved my first company from crashing and burning, right?
Ooh,
And I'll preface this also by
marketing team, editing team. There's the hook.
yeah, well,
Dude.
it's the truth. I like, dude, I was in the same boat as you. I was trying to sell, I was making deals. It was all good until they left, and I couldn't figure out how they were using stuff, why they were using stuff, which types of customers I should sell to. Like, I just had all these questions that I needed the answers to. And if you're an entrepreneur, again, forget software. It doesn't matter. If you're running a business, you can probably sit down and come up with 25 unanswered questions about your own business that if you had the answers, you could make smarter decisions. We just need to like make the time to go get the answers, which is hard to do when you're like trying to get to freaking Thursday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's trying to keep the lights on. So I get it. The advantage with software, one of the many reasons I love software as a type of business is because as long as you do the right things, you can get data on demand. Like, dude, there's no way to get data as fast out of a lawn care or power washing business as you can out of a software company if you build it the right way. It's just different types of businesses. But the principles that I will walk through ring true for any type of business. So as I talk through this, if you're not running a tech company, that's cool. Just think through what information you would need to gather, even if it's manual, talking to people, whatever, to do what I'm about to say. Here's the big idea. Your entire customer base should be essentially categorized into buckets based on how likely they are to quit. And I want to give some credit to the OG here, Dharmesh Shah, the CTO of HubSpot. He was the one that really popularized this idea. He called it CHI, Customer Happiness Index. HubSpot initially rolled this out. I think they had like 3,000 customers. So like by HubSpot standards, they were still pretty small. But most of what I'm going to say today came from, Dharmesh putting these ideas out there. He's got a lot of talks on it. So I just wanted to like hat tip to the guy who came up with this stuff,
Love
because
it.
'cause I learned a lot from watching how he's built HubSpot. That said, the idea here is that you want to bucket people into categories based on how likely they are to quit. All right. And so I use a really sophisticated system, DJ, to do this. It's called a traffic light. My greens are the people I'm not worried about. My yellows are the ones who are on the fence, and the reds are the ones who are most likely going to quit at the next opportunity. So the tricky part, the question that all of you are thinking is, how the hell do I figure that out? And I wish I could give you some math formula with a bunch of like parentheses and fancy shit to like tell you how to do it. There's not a way. The only guarantee I can make you is that whatever you try first is going to be wrong. So the way that I do this, I joke and I call it you take a swag, a scientific wild ass guess. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I wrote that down in my notes
it's a
from
good
SaaS
one.
Academy. I was like, I like that.
Bro, pretty much my whole life is a swag. I just try to get smarter over time. But the idea here, right, is that you sit down and just make a list on a piece of paper of what would my best customer be doing, like on a weekly basis. And if you have a software company and you start to instrument some of this stuff, you can also just like subjectively think about who are my best customers and go look at what they're actually doing on a weekly basis and use that to guide your calculus here. But even if you don't have that, don't let that stop you. Take the swag and just write down like, all right, so DJ is my customer. I feel like for using my software, he should definitely be logging in at least once a week. So cool. Weekly active user. Yes. And I think, excuse me, that he should probably be using this main dashboard feature. Like this dashboard should get sent out to his team every single week. Cool. Okay. So was a dashboard link sent out to a team member in the past 7 days? Check. Yes or no. And then I think that he should probably be tracking a bunch of data points. So I think that like if he's filling out more than 80% of the data points in his platform, he's probably good to go. If he's filling out like between 50 and 80, I'm a little concerned. And if he's filling out less than 50%, I'm real concerned. If he doesn't fill out anything, I'm real concerned. And so like maybe I do some points where I'm like 80% is 5 or 4 and the other one's 3. You get the idea, right? It's like
Yep.
there's no like magical way to do this. You just figure out like if it's a yes or a no, it's a yes or no. If it's a range, like the data thing I just walked through, then you can just do like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But the idea here is that you come up with something and you have a maximum score and a minimum score, right? And it doesn't matter what the numbers are, but then you can break it down into a percentage, right? So like I add up all my points and I'm like, all right, if you do everything exactly the way I said, you're gonna have 38 points. Cool. And then if you do nothing, it's 0. And so then I look at you and you have 20 points, right? Out of the possible 38. So literally 20 divided by 38 is 52.6. Call it 53. I would say your customer happiness index is a 53. It always goes from 0
Okay.
to 100. It's basically a percent.
Yeah.
53 ain't good. That's a problem for me. You're red. I'm calling you, right? Like that's how I do it. So I'm just going to sum that up again real quick. I make a list of what people should be doing. I assign point values to them. And the cool thing is like this totally arbitrary. So if there's 3 things I want you to do, but one of them is really important, I can just make that worth more points. It's all good.
Weight it.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. So you come up with a maximum score. Your minimum score is always 0. And then however many points someone got divided by the maximum score, that gives you the percentage. That's your customer happiness index, rock and roll. And then you just
Love it.
use your gut to split them up into 3 categories. And that's all. And so your greens are cool. Make sure you like, I'll come back to the greens in a minute. So set your greens aside. Everyone asks me like, how do I use this now that I have it? I've got this stack of yellows. I got this stack of reds. What the hell do I do? And everyone's like, should I start calling the reds? No, start with the yellows. It doesn't mean you ignore the reds. But the thing is like if you have someone who's a little frustrated with you, who's falling off the wagon that you can recover, or someone who hates your guts and they're mad they're paying you, like I know who I'm more likely to be able to convince that we don't suck, right? I know
Right.
who I'm more likely able to have like a long relationship with. Like some of your reds are just waiting for the contract to be up so they can leave. It happens. I'm not saying you ignore them, but get your yellows green first. Whatever is
Mm.
the closest thing to working, go to that and make it freaking better. Like if you always run to the dumpster fire, you're just going to have dumpster fires, right? It's all you'll ever see. And then you have things that were like almost good that get neglected because you're fighting this lost cause over here in left field. And then the things like then your yellows turn into reds because you're so busy dealing with the reds, right? And then everything goes
Yeah.
backwards. So that's how I
Get
like
your
to work it.
yellows to green first. I wrote
Yellows to
that
greens
down.
first. Yeah, for sure. And so like that's how we start doing it. Like how do you do that? It can be a lot of different things. It could be like product education. It could be running webinars. It could be calling them one-to-one. Some of this depends on like how much your thing costs, right? Like if you're charging someone $50 a month, there are plays you can't afford to run. And if you're charging someone $1,000 a month, if you're charging someone 10 grand a month, you probably can get on a plane if you need to, right? Like there's just
Right.
different things for different price points. But that's the idea is you incentivize the behaviors that drive the customer happiness index because your hypothesis as the person owning the product is that if they're doing those things, they're going to get value. If they're going to get value, they're less likely to quit. That's the whole game. That's it.
I like that, man. I like that. And so, if you're listening to this right now and you're like, okay, how do I do that in my business? I'll give you guys a couple tactical teardowns here. So, if you're a lawn care business, how often do you hear from your customer? Do they pay on time? Uh, when's the last time they referred you to somebody? Right? You can use some of those. If you're an insurance agent, the paying on time is the big one, right?
Mm,
You can look at that a lot. I also working with a lot of our insurance agents because like we work with some of the top State Farm, Allstate, and Farmers agents. Like, do they have multiple products with you? That's
that's a
another
good
key
one.
one, right?
Yeah.
Like if you just have monoline auto only, like those people are, one thing away from canceling with you. And then also, when's the last time you had like an in-office review with them? Because the idea here is the bundle, right? Like if you're a State Farm agent, you're not the only one bundling and saving. If you're an Allstate agent, you're not the only one. They bundle and save because really the companies understand that if you have multiple lines with us, you're less likely to go shopping because they're more of a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah.
And so like those are just a couple of teardowns from two real world examples I can think of that you can use inside of your business because Matt is just a wealth of knowledge, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the podcast. If you are, go leave a like, a share, and review so it can find more people. But this is why I wanted him to come on here because I knew that he had information for my audience that's not just for technical founders, right? Not just software companies. This is like real world business stuff. And then if you happen to have software in your business, it makes it a little easier, right? You got more data
Yeah.
points to pull from. Anything you want to add on that, Matt?
Yeah, I think it's worth. I did leave an open loop that I want to close before we wrap this up about what we do with our greens, right? Because I don't want to just ignore them. Is that cool? We do a couple
Yeah,
minutes on
absolutely,
that,
man. Yeah.
and I can give you a link. I did a YouTube video that walks through this in a little bit more depth than what we'll probably have time for today. But the idea here is that there's actually a fourth color light in the traffic light, and I call it purples. Your purple customers. They're your advocates. All right. They're the
Okay.
people that we all tend to sleep on because what you don't want to do, right? Let's use you as the example. Let's say you're my customer and you're green and you're happy and you're using the thing. That's cool. Like, do you know that I value that? Are we doing anything together? Are you telling anybody about your experience here? I don't know. You don't know. You might not know I care about you at all, right? You might be using the thing and just be another number. And so and again, nothing to do with software here, guys. Like for anyone that is running a business that you have customers where you're just like, damn, like if I could clone DJ 100 times, my business would be dope, right? Like if you have those customers, make sure they know. That's number one. Like get to know them, talk to them like a human being. But more than that, and you can do this really well in software, but you can do it in any business if you're paying attention, right? You want to be able to track when specific wins happen in the business. I call this the win ask loop, right? So like whenever your customer wins, that's when you make an ask for like social proof, reviews, case studies, testimonials, reference accounts, whatever the thing that you need. Because like the big idea here is that like I'm sorry to like beat up on people's egos if you're the founder, the entrepreneur, like your customers don't give a shit about you. Like they don't want to hear from you. They want to hear from people like them.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like if DJ, if you're my customer, I could tell one of your peers how great my thing is and I'd be like, yeah, whatever. They know you got an angle. People aren't dumb. They know you want to sell them something. But
Yeah.
if they talk to you and you're like, yo, you got to talk to Matt. He fixed up my data. I freaking doubled my revenue because he showed me this, this, and this. Like you don't have anything to gain. It's honest. And so like if you're running a business and you're not crushing social proof, please fix it
Mm.
tomorrow. And the way to do that is with this win ask loop. If you know when someone's getting good results and like timing matters, proximity matters, you gotta be on the spot. They get a good result, you're hitting them up. They get a
Yeah.
better result, you're making a bigger ask, right? Like they get a big win, do a case study. And like, how can you do this? You said something that triggered this in me, which was like you can do in-person reviews if you're an insurance company or whatever. Like, I'm sure even lawn businesses, if you have like large commercial accounts, you're doing the same thing. You're sitting down with them once a quarter, making sure that they're happy, showing them how good the property looks, whatever. When they are happy, you make the ask. And so here's the thing is like the principle for this that I want to leave you with is like you should be automating the asks because this is where we as entrepreneurs, we break it, right? We're like, yeah, that
Mm.
sounds good. I heard Matt talk about the win ask loop. I'm gonna ask those happy people and they do it once and then they get busy, like because we're all freaking busy. So like set it up so you can't mess it up, right? Like with the way
Oh,
I
set
did
it up
this,
so you can't mess it
yeah,
up. I
like
like that.
we break our own shit all the time. We're our own worst enemies.
Oh
Like
yeah.
we have great ideas and we lack consistency and follow through because most founders are quick starts. We want to go do the next, squirrel, we go see the next thing. So if you just build a system that runs without you, then you can't ignore it. And so like, I'll give you an example from my software business. So we would send out a net promoter survey, relatively standard, right? How likely are you to recommend our company to your friends, 1 to 10? Anybody who's a 9 or a 10, that would trigger an automation that would automatically email intro them to someone on my team named Hillary, who is a copywriter. And then Hillary would pick it up and reach out and be like, hey, DJ, nice to meet you. I'd love to feature you in a case study. And then Hillary and DJ would build a case study. And bro, the automated email came from me, and all I ever did was set up the automation, and that was it. And it was just like, yo, DJ, thanks for, being down to recommend us. Like, super appreciate that you're getting value. If you're cool, I'd love to make a case study. I copied Hillary on this email. I'll leave it to you guys. And that's it. And all of a sudden, dude, we're popping off 3 case studies a quarter, like real ones, from happy customers. And I was out of the loop, so I couldn't break it.
Yeah, I'm still in that one, Matt. We do a net promoter every quarter. So, and I was like wildly surprised because we got 50% response rate, which is I thought was shitty. I was like, we got to get more responses. I was like, no, it's actually really good because it's like 20 to 30% typically, and like the numbers were super high. So like take those 9s and 10s and do a handoff to the copywriter because like those are who we should be doing case studies on.
It's this, dude. It's the same thing. Why everyone flocks to the reds on the customer, right? If someone rates it a 2, you're probably gonna. So you or someone on your team, you're calling them. You're like, hey, how can I make this right? Right? Yep. Someone gives you a 10, we don't even grunt in their direction, bro. It's criminal, right? Like if they love you, get with them and let them love you publicly.
I love it. When I was still in the field in the pressure washing business, we'd get done washing somebody's house and they'd come out and they'd be like, oh my God, it looks brand new. Yeah. Dude, phone's coming out of the pocket.
Boom,
I'm like, hey,
exactly,
do you mind if I shoot a quick video? Yeah. They're like, no, go ahead. And I'm like, hey, I'm here with Matt. He said his house looks great. Matt, what'd you think, man? Did you think it would be this clean? No, it's way cleaner than I thought it would be. It's like, oh, dude, and the emotion is there, right? And then you get to encapsulate that. So fire stuff, dude. That is great. I know we got to wrap it up, man. We're going to definitely have to have you back on again in a future podcast. If anybody's wanting to check you out online, find you, reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you, man?
Yeah, if you're on Instagram, just get me at instagram.com/Matt Verlaque. I'm sure you can drop a link in there. You go to mattverlaque.com. If you're running a business and you want to fix your data so you can make some money and need some help with that, you go to precision.co. That's the business. We can chat. But like, if you DM me on Instagram, I'll answer it. We'll hook it up, whatever you need. So just drop me a note and we'll go from there. It's all good.
Yeah, I want to give you a quick shout out too. You guys need to go follow him on LinkedIn. The charts, the graphics, the infographics that you've been posting over there, dude. I've been like right clicking and saving. I'm like, these are great, man.
Thank you, man. That's cool. Appreciate that.
Really, really cool content over there. So, Matt, appreciate you being in the Sales Factory, man. Thanks for coming on and sharing the knowledge with my listeners. We greatly appreciate it, man.
Thank you, DJ. I appreciate you, brother. Talk soon.
Yeah, man. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you get subscribed to the podcast. Hit the thumbs up, the share, the comment. It helps us get in front of more people. Until next time, I'm your host, Coach Carroll. Hustle is worth it. Take care, guys.